And within 60 minutes of working on my hip, I was like, wow, I have no knee pain now when I squat.
We have to think of pain as our body just speaking to us. We can't label it as bad. It's actually an incredible mechanism that our body gives us. It's a gift that we get told something is not right. Tension doesn't necessarily mean strength. And that is really important to differentiate when you're looking at yourself, to be able to self-evaluate.
And a great example, like we just talked about, I had incredible fitness model abs, men's health level, but my low back hurt and I had way too tight a hip flexors. So by chasing the aesthetic goal, I actually created a performance issue and then ended up with an injury.
Our body is so smart. Everything about our body, the brain, and how it works with our heart and the rest of our body is literally, there's so much of it that's still unknown. And we don't listen enough.
Welcome to episode 10, everybody. It is Coach Jackson, and I'm joined by my first guest on the podcast ever. It is Coach Nicolette. Now, I wanted to have her on because she's somebody that's constantly impressed me, somebody that I look up to, somebody that I really value her friendship, but also I really value her professional opinion and her coaching. And if there was somebody that I wanted to coach me, it would be her. That's why I wanted to have her on. I mean it 100%. And when we first met, I remember seeing you had your locker next to me at Diacati. This is like back in 2014-ish. And you showed up, you had purple hair, all these tattoos. And I was like, we could not be more opposite. But over the years, we've grown an incredible friendship. I look up to you and respect you so much. I'm just very grateful and thankful for you. And I'm so happy to have you on. Why don't you introduce yourself or share whatever you want to share?
Yeah, thank you, Jackson. That was a really thoughtful introduction. And the feeling is very much so the same, that I feel the same way about you professionally and as a friendship, and also as the not knowing that we would ever be as close as we are upon meeting each other. We are definitely so different. And I tell Jason, my husband, this all the time, how different we are, but it's really worked for our friendship. I had bright purple hair and I have lots of tattoos. And I was like, who's this guy? This big buff guy. Like, okay. But it's been such a joy to get to know you. So I am Coach Nicolette. Some of you that are listening might know me from Diacati, where Jackson and I first met and where we really took off with our businesses. Or you might know me from Tonal as Coach Nicolette.
Absolutely. So let's kind of dig in and we'll talk. You're a little bit more posture movement based. You're an absolute badass. I remember watching you deadlift and do pull-ups and stuff at Diacati. So you can kind of do it all, but you tend to be a little bit more focused on posture and movement with your clients. So I kind of want to start there if that's okay. So you said before that proper movement mechanics, they can really change somebody's results. Now, when people think about their health and their fitness, getting on a program, improving, buying a Tonal, getting a gym membership, whatever they want to do, they often think about lifting weights, doing cardio. Nobody really thinks about their posture or movement mechanics. So why don't you share a little bit about why that's important and why people should actually care about it?
Yeah, I find that people start to care about it once they've been injured. So a lot of my clients that come to me are people who are injured. So they've had some type of either nagging consistent injury, or they've had an acute traumatic event to somewhere on their body, or they're coming out of surgery and physical therapy. So they're more keen to learn about posture and movement mechanics because they have to change something in order to get back into movement. But I like to think of the posture and movement mechanics as more so my ability to help people move better by just making sure that the structure they're working with is positioned and moving from the most optimal position possible. And that doesn't mean perfection. It just means optimal for themselves, right? So whatever that is, it's different for everybody. And it's really how I start with my clients. Yes, it influences all of my training, but really it influences the first few months the most. Or if one of my clients somehow gets injured inside or outside of lifting, it also comes into play a lot there. So my evaluation process, my programming process, especially when people are first starting with me, whether they're injured or not, is very much so based in this philosophy of how you begin and end movement will influence how you move. So it is not just sitting straight upright. Yes, that's a part of posture, but really it's how the spinal column impacts the way that the rest of the body moves. So our spine is at the center of our entire body. And if it's not in line, then the shoulder will be out of line, and that can, reverberate all the way down to the fingertips. So it's not just like I'm fixing spinal position. I'm also helping people establish a better pelvic tilt so they don't have hip pain, or be able to strengthen their low back so that they can deadlift properly and comfortably, or even just bend over row. So posture really is so much more than just like straightening your spine.
Yeah, and I think probably, and you can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but if something's wrong with your spine or something's wrong with maybe your hip, it doesn't always mean that you have pain or an issue in that place. Oftentimes it's somewhere else. I remember
Yeah.
I flew to St. Louis to, Squat University. You follow him on Instagram?
Yeah, I remember when you went.
Yeah, he's amazing. And I flew to St. Louis because I'd had problems with my knee for like 10 years. And I'd gone to a bunch of physical therapists, and they're always like, oh, it's the VMO, it's your quad, let's work on this, let's work on that. And nothing ever worked. And he's like, it's your hip. And I'm like, my hip? And I wasn't super surprised at that, because I've certainly seen this before, and working with individuals like yourself, I've seen, these kinds of things. But he's like, yeah, it's your hip. And if we work on your hip and the stability there and your mobility, it's going to fix your knee. And within 60 minutes of working on my hip, I was like, wow, I have no knee pain now when I squat. It was incredible. So I assume a lot of these things where people have pain in their elbow or their knee or their shoulder, they can occur from other areas of their body. And if they can fix their posture through, whether it's, movement, stretching, like what are the things people need to do in order to help with that?
Yeah. So taking like that example, and I tell clients a lot of the time where they're feeling pain. So they'll say, where are you feeling pain? I'm feeling pain, in the front of my shoulder. That's usually a symptom of a bigger issue. And we have to think of pain as our body just speaking to us. It's not, we can't label it as bad. It's actually an incredible mechanism that our body gives us. It's a gift that we get told something is not right. It's just like any illness. So we have to listen to that. So when a client tells me they have pain somewhere, I think, okay, well, there's acute tension. Maybe we can release this front of the shoulder, right? Get some acute tension out of there. But why is that happening? Why is that, shoulder and that muscle being overworked so much? Usually it means there's somewhere else in the body, like an antagonistic muscle, that is not working hard enough to do its job. And therefore that muscle is having to work harder to stabilize whatever joint it is that we're at, the shoulder as an example. So a lot of what I do with clients when they do come to me with pain is actually strengthening. Like we do minimal stretching. Most of the time it's strengthening exercises. This doesn't mean your heaviest squat ever. This might mean very small, specific movements to strengthen very specific muscle groups in order to stabilize whatever joint is having the issue. Because usually we are talking about joints. Yes, we're talking about muscles, but our muscles' job is to control certain joints. So if we look at it in that way, it gives us a better global understanding of what might be happening. And 99% of the time, it's strength that needs to happen, not stretching, not, releasing again if there's acute tension, but honestly, it's almost always strength.
Why do you think it is then that whenever somebody has pain or an issue or something, they immediately want to go to stretching, and they're like, oh, my back's hurting, let me stretch it out. Or, I tweaked my hamstring, I'm going to do some stretching. Where does this come from?
Because they're trying to relieve the symptom, right? So if we use, let's do like an example, because you bring that up. Let's say somebody is experiencing back pain in the sense that they feel it working really a lot. Like they're doing bent over rows, they're deadlifting, they're back squatting, and they just feel a lot of tension happening in the back. So naturally they want to do that like forward fold that we've all done where we reach for our toes to like, stretch it out. Well, a lot of the times when the back is talking to you like this and is tense, it usually means that it's overworking for something else, or it's weak. Okay. And so any work that you're putting on it, it's just like, oh, wow, that was a lot of work. I'm a little overwhelmed. So what I would, instead of stretching the low back, what I would actually look at is, how are the hamstrings? Are the hamstrings really tight? Are the hamstrings not doing their job? Like in the deadlift, are you feeling your low back instead of your hamstrings? The hamstrings and the low back are oftentimes very closely correlated. I like to call them brother and sister. When one is imbalanced, usually it impacts the other. So that's just one example of why you might be so inclined to stretch when in reality, the back might not be the issue at all. It might be that you need to strengthen the back, which feels so counterintuitive to a lot of people when they feel tension, but tension, just one more thing, tension doesn't necessarily mean strength. And that is really important to differentiate when you're looking at yourself, to be able to self-evaluate. Am I feeling tension because this muscle is working, or am I feeling tension because it's really weak and it needs to be worked more so that the weight that I'm putting on it, whether I'm on Tonal or at the gym, doesn't cause so much tension on it?
Interesting. That reminds me, when I first came to Diakati, I remember I was learning from Billy, and he was showing me some different like posture assessment stuff. And at the time, I was having some low back pain, and he did an assessment on me, and he was like, "You have the most insane pelvic tilt I've ever seen. Your hip flexors are so tight." And it was because all the fitness modeling stuff I did, always working abs, abs, abs. And I actually had a very weak core, which is kind of funny, but my abs were, insane, but my hip flexors were so tight that they were tilting my pelvis so much that I was having all this back pain at the same time.
Yep. Which, it doesn't mean that your back was strong. It means that it was being pulled into a shortened position. So those muscles on the back were shortened and tense, but shortened and tense doesn't mean strong. So a lot of what you might need in that scenario is, yes, we need to get those hip flexors to relax, probably by engaging, this is very generalized, but maybe working your glutes more or different muscle groups to help relax the hip flexors. And then the low back, because the pelvis will start to move, will just naturally start to relax a little bit.
How would you recommend people at home who are listening, and let's say they're experiencing low back pain and they're like, okay, I'm having some of this, but I don't know if it's from my hip flexors or this or that. Is it you have to get a professional assessment? Like, how do you even get started in trying to figure out if you're having some sort of pain, aches, pains? Like, is it just normal, or is this a symptom of a bigger problem? Like, how do they even begin that process?
Really good question. I would say there's plenty of things you can at least start off on your own to see what works. I don't think it necessarily means you have to find a professional right away. But if something stays consistently painful for, I would say, more than a few weeks, then that's something you might want to reach out to someone. But what would be good to actually kind of understand about yourself if you are trying to self-evaluate is the basics. So let's say your low back is tense, and maybe you pop onto YouTube and you Google some videos, and they say to stretch your hip flexors. They say to do the figure 4 stretch to stretch your glutes and your hamstrings. And you do that for a couple weeks, and maybe it works. And you're like, oh, okay, good. My hips were just really tight. Maybe it doesn't. You're like, okay, it's still not working. Let me try a couple of other things. I've heard that strengthening my glutes and strengthening my core can help with low back. Okay, I'm going to try that for a couple of weeks. Yay, that worked. Strengthening was helpful. Or B, didn't work. I think if you've tried a couple different scenarios on your own and you're an active person and it's still not working, that would be the time to reach out to a professional, whether it's a trusted physical therapist, a trainer, or someone like me, to be able to evaluate you in a more professional setting to better understand. If you're experiencing pain for longer than a few months, it's time to change something, because whatever you're doing currently is not working.
Got it. Okay. Now, when people come to you, when people come to me, when people start a workout program, they often want to look better. They want to feel better. They want to be more confident. They want to be stronger, all of these things. But there's also obviously this balance that we've been talking about of improving your posture and your mobility and health and longevity. There's all these factors that are kind of like we have to balance and think about. How does somebody who wants to lose weight, get in shape, get stronger, how should they think about their sort of maybe mobility or even performance goals along with the aesthetic goals and like balance that out so they can, yes, look better, feel better, get stronger, but also still have a body that works very well, that's very functional. And a great example, like we just talked about, I had incredible fitness model abs, men's health level, but my low back hurt and I had way too tight a hip flexors. So by chasing the aesthetic goal, I actually created a performance issue and then ended up with an injury.
Yeah. Well, I think we both have a very similar philosophy when it comes to this, as far as like in making sure that the movement quality is there, right? I see you coach this, I see it online, I've seen it in person, that this is for both of us a big deal when it comes to engagement. Like the most basic part of improving your body composition, first off, is just making sure you're activating the right muscles, right? And like we've both talked about online, if you are not in the proper position for the movement itself, a bicep curl, even at the simplest, single joint movement, you're not going to activate the biceps to their fullest degree, right? Which will keep you from actually reaching those aesthetic goals. So that's one big part of it, is just making sure that you're doing the lifts right. For me, when I first start training with people, if I can know as much about them as possible, right? If I see them squat, lunge, walk, run, push, pull, if I can see them do these movements and help them improve just the smallest bits, not only are we helping them engage muscle groups better, but we are preventing injury, especially as our programming progresses through the years to being much more difficult. I have some clients who have been doing program design with me for 6+ years. We're on like program 40 something. We are definitely not where we started. And there would have been no way for us to get where they are now if we hadn't started in what I call like base conditioning, which is just improving the movement quality of every primary movement that we do. Squatting, lunging, upper body pushing, upper body pulling, rotation, and gait, which is walking. Once we can really perfect those movement patterns, we can then build off of it, and then we can do the really good like ass kickings.
I think that's a really important point. And I think something else that people should understand is that when they are doing strength training, that also helps with their mobility. It can help with stretching. So when people are like, oh, I don't want to get too bulky and lose flexibility. Well, if you're using full range of motion, good technique, you're not going to have that problem. And
That's a really good call out. Yeah.
and the probably number one thing that I see from coaching hundreds and hundreds of people, over the years, it's poor movement quality,
Agreed.
especially when I get clients that are on Tonal. They see the video on the screen and they think they're doing it in their head. And the difference between what I see them doing and what they're doing in real life is sometimes just astronomical. Sometimes it's slightly funny, but sometimes it's extremely scary. I had a guy who messaged me just on Facebook or Instagram the other day, and he was like, hey, I can't figure out why my lower back's hurting when I'm doing these single leg RDLs. And his back went from being straight when he was standing to like a complete rounding as he went. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And this comes down to quality of movement. And I think if more people thought about that from the start and worked on that as like a foundational skill, even, they would look better, feel better, get stronger, and improve their longevity, which longevity is such like a buzzword nowadays. So I think it all comes back to what you said, movement quality.
Yeah. But longevity in the gym is so important. And that's a big part of my coaching personally, is making sure that people can lift in the gym for a long, long time and not get injured, like not cause themselves to limit their ability to show up and get strong. And it's also a good reminder that in our daily life, right, our body, we're moving in the path of least resistance. We're trying to not make things hard on our body everywhere we go. Our body naturally does that. But when we're in the gym, when we're working out, we are finding the path of most resistance. That's the whole point. We're trying to lift heavy, heavy things overhead. We're trying to keep our body from moving. In normal life, we're going to adjust our spine because, like, why would we like hinge like this to go grab a cup, right? That doesn't make sense. But when we're in the gym, we're doing the exact opposite under heavy load. So if we don't have this strong base, like we're both talking about, this strong functional base where our body intuitively knows how to keep us safe, there's no way that you could build off of it and move into programming like you and I both do, which is hypertrophy, fat loss, which is very high volume, very high load, like complete stress on the body. We can't possibly do that if we haven't first mastered those movements.
Great point. Let's talk a little about like long-term consistency. And this is a big problem for so many people. People buy a tonal, they get a gym membership, they start working out, they might even see good results, but then a vacation, a work gets crazy, they move. I just moved. I could tell you I didn't work out for 2 weeks. It was so hard. When it comes to long-term consistency, the motivation fades, life happens. How do people stay consistent, or how do you recommend your clients stay consistent? Are there habits? Are there systems, mindset shifts? Like, what are the things that you coach people on and found that work for you and your clients to keep people consistent over, we're talking years now, not just a couple of months?
Yeah. I I think one thing is, for me at least, I try and make very clear to my clientele when they first start with me is I'm always going to be there to support. We have constant check-ins throughout the week. But my goal is to have you be able to do this on your own. Even if I'm programming for you forever. Even when I was training in person, it was always like I want you to build confidence enough that you don't need me, right? Like, that's the goal. I want you to love this and be able to show up on your own and hop into a gym and be like, I know what that piece of equipment is and I know how to use it, and feel confident that you can do that on your own. That's the goal. The reality is, some people that show up to training with me aren't in the right mindset at the time to really dedicate themselves. And so when I first start with clients, I'm very open about, you can choose how many days a week you want to lift. It needs to be a day of times a week that you can do easily with not having to think about it. If that's only 2 days, so be it. But you need to be honest with yourself. So I first always tell people, you need to be honest. I am not going to babysit you. I'm not going to be someone that's going to beg you to do your workouts. I need you to be self-motivated at least a little bit on your own and honest about how many days a week you can train. And you don't have to train every day. I don't care. I don't care if you only show up 2 to 3 days. That's fine with me, as long as we're honest about that. And then I think the second part about it is being able to, when people are coming back like from a break. So you talked about this on your podcast and online about having a really hectic summer, like you moved, all of these things happened, some health stuff. I had some health stuff happen, and then I went on my honeymoon. So I went 6 weeks without working out, which is the longest I've ever worked out, and I haven't worked out in pretty much my whole career. And it was really, really hard. And I'm still getting back. The one thing that's brought me back is meeting myself where I'm at and not trying to be and do what I was doing 6 weeks ago. That's all that it takes. It's not about showing. I'm not doing 4 times a week lifts right now at full weight. I'm doing 3 times full body. I can't possibly do a whole upper body day. I would get so sore if I did that. It would be too much volume too quick. So it's about setting expectation, being realistic with yourself, and then also being able to come back and meeting yourself where you are at and being okay with that, period. Who knows? I'm different than I was 6 weeks ago. I had some health stuff. Like, it might take me a while. But that's okay. That's just, it is what it is. And you have to be okay with that.
Yeah, I think people, when they get into health and fitness, they think the journey is going to be this like linear progression, and they're just going to constantly always be headed in the right direction, or with weight loss, it's just going to go straight down. And this is something that complements your life. It's supposed to improve your life, but it doesn't take over your life. So unless you're a professional competitor, or you're a fitness coach online who gets clients by the way you look, this has got to be something that you have to work into your life. You have a busy schedule, you have a career, you have a family, you might have kids, responsibilities, all of these things. So you have to find a way to be able to work out, take care of yourself, do the nutrition stuff, all of these things, and fit it into your life. And it's not always going to be perfect. You're going to have times where you can't work out as much, or you have to shorten your sessions, or you're traveling and you miss a few days or weeks. And then you have to come back, not at the same level, but giving yourself a little grace, giving yourself a little bit of compassion, and saying, okay, I'm going to start back up, but start a little bit more conservatively. I want to train hard, but I want to train smart. And then I'm going to come in, and then I'm going to work my way back up to where I was. And then I'll continue the progression.
Yep. And I think it's really important, especially I think a lot of people coming to the two of us are looking to change their body composition. So they're either wanting to gain muscle, they want to do fat, or a combination of both. And that's the programming that I love to do. I love building programming to build muscle. I'm not doing that kind of programming right now because, again, like I said before, that's high volume, that's high load, that's a lot of stress on the body. And it's also something that I'd share with clients. Like, let's say they've been with me for a couple of months, and even aside from having a break or not, they want to transition into something that's more body composition focused. I have a big conversation with them because it's taxing, it's time consuming, it takes a lot of work. So it just kind of comes back into this idea that you have to set the right expectation for you. What can you in your life manage right now? Can you manage 6 full 60-minute workouts, like lifts every week, and 2 really intense cardio sessions? Realistically, can you do that? And if you can't, that's okay. We're just going to try and create a different goal, and that's fine. I think people mostly have a hard time accepting that it's probably going to take more time and effort to get to those really high composition, like really big, lofty goals than they anticipate, you know?
100%. I had a conversation with a guy yesterday who joined our program, and he's one of these people who has never really prioritized strength training in the past. He'll do a couple of weeks and then fall off, and then a couple of weeks and fall off. So doesn't have much muscle, doesn't have a whole lot of experience training, has too much body fat, but isn't overweight. And he's got to do a complete change. He's got to add muscle. He's got to lose fat. He's got to learn how to move. He's got to really learn the skill and the technique of lifting and training. And I said, look, we can make some progress in the next 4 to 6 months, but you're probably a year away from a physique that you're probably proud of and like really happy with.
That's
And
honesty is what they need.
yeah, I just had to tell them straight out. And it's tough. I hate having to say that, but it's better to give people a good expectation of what this is really going to take versus being like, oh, you'll get there in 4 months. And then 4 months later, he's like, I made some progress, but like, this is nowhere near where I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not good for anybody.
Right, right. If you come in and you have a good amount of muscle and you have pretty good technique and you just are overweight or added too much body fat, and that's all you need to lose, you can make that transition pretty quick because losing body fat in itself is pretty quick. You can do that. But when you have to do both building muscle and losing fat and learn technique, wow, it's a lot. It's life-changing. I love working with people that go through it because it's incredible watching them, but it does take some time.
Yeah. And it takes someone who's willing to spend that time.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say I'm new to training, or maybe I'm just new to having a progressive program and having things really dialed in. I've been going to the gym and just working out. I want to do an assessment. I want to kind of start a serious program, whether it's working with you or somebody else. Like, what am I looking for in an initial assessment? How am I trying to assess my movement patterns and then include some of these things into the training so I can do what we talked about, which is, yes, training for strength and aesthetics, but also making sure that I'm moving really well and building these great foundations?
Yeah. So that's actually, I really like this question because I think for you and I, especially in the way that we train, the intention that we put into our programming, the education, everything that encompasses what we do, we really value. And that is our brand, the two of us. I feel like that's a big part of who we are as coaches. And that is not the standard. It just isn't with a lot of coaches, whether online or in person. So I think when you're trying, whether it's Jackson or I or anyone that you're looking for to help guide you through exercise and movement, you need to have someone that is willing to really pay attention and to create something that's meant for you and considers you, your body, your pain, your needs, your schedule, and it's not you fitting into whatever program they've created for every person on the planet, right? I think that's one of the most important things to look out for. And it's hard. It's hard to, be able to distinguish who is good and who is not as good, especially when you're not familiar. I compare it to like if you've never had a tattoo and you're trying to find a new tattoo artist, that's going to be hard. There's so many out there. How do you know who's good and how do you know who's bad? It's a difficult thing to be able to distinguish, but I would find that that would be the most important part for starting if you're trying to find a coach.
Got it. Finding somebody who's good quality. Are there specific questions that you'd recommend people asking or things that they should look for in trying to find somebody?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm biased. I think you should find someone who is like me, who is going to consider your body in order to prevent injury so that you can really push yourself. That's really the goal. Like I love posture and movement mechanics. I do. I love getting people out of pain. It's probably one of the most gratifying parts of my job is people coming to me being like, oh yeah, that pain's gone. That's incredible. But when it comes to training, I like challenging, hard, like really heavy. I really like to push myself and I like to get my clients there too. So everything that I do is to prepare people for that, the fun stuff, like later on. So I think the questions you should be asking if you're stepping into a possible like new relationship with a trainer is what is their process for assessing you? Are they going to watch you move? How do they program? Do they program long term or are they just programming per workout? And that side note, don't ever work with anyone who just writes a workout and you do a different workout every time you go in. That's the basics. You need to have a program. So if they're not writing programs for you, you got to say sayonara. So making sure that they're planning ahead, that they have a plan for you, right? I think those are some of the really important things.
Okay, fantastic. Let's get into some rapid fire kind of ish tonal questions. So you don't have to take too much time with each of these. Although towards the back end of these, there's a couple that you might want to think through a bit. So let's start. Favorite exercise on tonal?
Bulgarian split squat.
Oh my gosh.
I love it on tonal. It's so much harder. I love it on tonal. I love the way the tonal pull, like the tonal weight and how there's no momentum in a Bulgarian split squat on tonal. It's just so hard. It's so good.
You just killed so many people's dreams, but you also like, this is why we like each other and we're friends because I agree 100% that it's my favorite exercise too.
Ask. I love it.
I actually even like it with a platform to make it even harder.
Yep, foot on the platform so you can get even deeper. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, least favorite exercise on tonal?
Any of the standing single leg chop things. I'm not, as much as I talk about functionality, I'm not a functional, you might hear this word functional training. I don't do like lots of multi-joint stuff. Like I like bench press, incline press, like overhead press, back squat, front squat, and then important accessory exercises. But I'm not having people like standing on a Swiss ball while like doing rotations and stuff.
Yeah, those, if your trainer's having you do that, first of all, super dangerous and crazy. Do not work with that person. The other thing I always thought was funny when CrossFit became really popular, they'd be like, oh, this is functional training. It's like, when are you snatching a barbell with two like symmetrical plates on it, like in real life? That is not happening. How is that different than overhead pressing or benching?
Yeah,
it's like,
which is like, that's fine. Do that, but don't call it what it's not.
Yeah. Okay. I'm guessing most ridiculous exercise on tonal, same thing, right?
Yeah, I would say those those standing single leg exercises to me are, no.
Got it. One exercise on tonal, if you could make everybody do it, you already use Bulgarian, so not that. One exercise you include in everybody's program, no matter what.
Okay, I want to make sure that I answer this right. Okay, can it be a non-tonal exercise? Sure. My favorite exercise is an exercise that's not in the tonal library.
Great, let's hear it.
But I love it. It's a seated good morning, and it's a supported hinge movement, and I find that it's so good.
Dumbbells or barbells?
So you could use a rope, a barbell, or a dumbbell. So if you're doing it on tonal, you could use a barbell. You can use a barbell in front of you. You can use a barbell on your shoulders, or you can use the rope, which I love the rope. And basically it's a way for anyone who doesn't know, you're seated on the bench, the weight is in front of you, and you're hinging just like you would in RDL, but you're seated on the bench and there's no weight loaded on your spine. So it's a great way to get in a strong hinge movement for the glutes and hamstrings and the strength of the back without actually loading the spine. And it's like such a glute burner. I love it.
Okay. Favorite old school tonal program? It could be one of yours.
I think I have to go with my Raising the Barbell too. That's like my favorite. Like I love that program myself. It's giant sets. It's nothing like there was never anything like that on Tonal. And it was, it was a heavy hitter and it people got really good results with that program. And I personally love to do it.
That is a tough program. 100%. Okay. Favorite program or workout to film while you were at Tonal? So not do, but film.
I had a live program. So we started doing live classes. I loved teaching live classes. That was probably when I really felt my most like just in the zone when it came to performing on Tonal, was finally being able to really like let loose and not just have to stand stiff on camera. So I have, it is, oh no, I'm forgetting the name. What's it called? I had like a full live program. It was 2 weeks. Oh my, should I look? I feel like I should look.
You can look.
Okay.
While you look, I'll share mine. Filming Go Big,
Yeah.
Go Home 3 was the best thing I had ever done. That was so fun
The
to
third
film
one
that.
specifically or 1 through 3?
The third one specifically. All of them were really fun to film, but the third one specifically, because there was so much hype and it was so big at that point, and everyone was like looking forward to it. And I got on set and everyone was just like so stoked. And it was right after my mom passed away. And I talked a lot about her in the like the ending portion about how much I just missed her and loved her, and just like how proud she would be of me for doing all that stuff. So that was why that was the most favorite one for me to film.
Yeah, that whole series and just watching everyone that was such a big part of us being at Tonal. Like so much of that was such a gift, was being able to just see in real time every day how you are impacting people's lives doesn't even have to be anything that significant, just enjoying a workout, like showing up for a workout. Like it doesn't have to be that it was the most, revolutionary thing they've ever done, but the fact that like you got to see and hear feedback every day about how you were positively impacting people is like really cool. I can't find it.
That's okay. What's your
But it was my
favorite
watch.
on-set memory?
Oh, on-set memory. My first live class. Definitely. I cried.
I was about to say, I thought you cried.
I cried. I was so excited. I was excited that Tonal had thought I, was capable, all the high ups, whoever made those decisions, we still don't know. But I was just really grateful and it was so much fun and it was a really hard workout and I actually wasn't meant to do that workout. So originally I was supposed to go live the next week and someone got sick. I can't remember. I think it was Trace because it was a really hard workout and he always did the advanced live classes. It had Bulgarian split squats with weight. It had Bulgarian split squat like body weight. I literally was in my head in the moment when I was doing that class, was like, oh my, can I finish this? I'm not sure. But adrenaline, you just go and it doesn't matter. And at the end, I was just so happy.
The number of things that I was able to do on camera, whether it was like in fitness modeling or on Tonal or anything, and then not be able to do when I was like working out by myself is crazy. Because I've done things on Tonal and I'll do my own workout sometimes. And I'm like, I can't, my abs are hurting so bad. They're cramping. I can't do this. And I'm like, how am I still doing it on the screen?
It's crazy. It's like when there's a camera and you can't stop, you do whatever you can.
It's wild. The different level of like adrenaline and push that you get when you're filming. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. You can only choose one: standard, smart flex, eccentric, or chains.
Eccentric. Duh.
All right. I love that.
Duh.
Are there any exercises that you've maxed out on Tonal?
The lying barbell glute bridge. But like we talked about earlier, probably not now. I'll probably have to adjust it. That's just life, right? Because I haven't worked out for 6 weeks. But yes, at one point, a few months ago, I had done 200 on that guy.
Favorite in-studio snack while filming?
A banana. I love a carb. Literally, like a banana or a jerky stick. Those are my go-tos.
Okay. Do you have any regrets from your tonal experience?
Actually, I don't, no. I really feel like I like anything, I put all of myself into that job. I put all of who I am. I learned, I tried to get better at performing by going to, like practicing. I would watch other videos online, I would practice at home. I put everything I knew into my programming. I showed up in the tonal community as much as I could. And I spoke up when I felt like things weren't fair or right. So I think I don't. How about you?
I don't have any regrets. I'd say the only regret I have is I didn't go to the party at Brendan's house after we all got let go.
That was a really like special day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so sad and I was like so upset. And I felt like if I went there, like it would sort of break me. And I wanted to try to be tough, if that makes sense. Cause I was like, I can't let this hurt me. I have to come back from this. I have to like just, I have to figure this out. And I felt like if I went there, it would be this like finality moment that would just be so sad. And I didn't know if I could handle it.
Yeah. It ended up being for me not like that, but the sadness, I don't know that anyone really who wasn't in that situation can truly understand the profound sadness that a lot of I would say the original coaches, just because we had been there for so long, felt. It was one of the most pivotal and challenging experiences of my entire life.
Agreed. What's one thing people get wrong about training with tonal? So I buy a tonal, I have it, I use it. What's one thing I'm just totally screwing up and not knowing it?
Not doing programs, doing random workouts. I would say two things: doing random workouts and not doing enough sets. A lot of the tonal programming, hate to say it, does a lot of 2 sets, maybe 3 sets. It's rare you're going to get 4, 5, 6 sets of things. And that's really where volume gets built. And that's where change happens. So workouts don't have enough volume on specific muscle groups, and you're not doing programs.
Agreed. What's one thing you can, if you could, change about tonal?
More weight.
All right.
Yeah,
I
more
would
weight.
add more warm up sets.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you say that. I have my clients now, we do like step loading essentially. So even on tonal moves, we've kind of transitioned out of using the tonal suggested weight in a lot of ways. And we do more of a step loading. So we have a warm up set, and then we kind of build up to their heavier sets in like the last 3 sets. Let's say they have 5 or 6 sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Because
have to because it's too much.
it is. It goes from literally warm up to like full go in
Yeah,
one
which is
set. And
65%, I think, is the algorithm. Yeah.
yeah. And if you're doing, I don't know, bicep curls or lateral raises, it might not be that big of a deal because the weights are fairly light as it is. But when you're doing Bulgarians, you're doing front squats, deadlifts, bench press, like big movements, you need more warm up sets than that. And no offense, but doing a dynamic warm up in with body weight is not going to get you prepared for
No.
that movement.
No. Yeah. There's nothing you can do body weight that's going to do the right thing.
Okay, last thing related to tonal connected fitness is so obviously, we went from being in person coaches to then this tonal experience, connected fitness. It was all the rage during COVID, this Peloton, everything that showed up. I mean, geez, we had Forme, we had Tempo. I mean, there's Oxfit or whatever it's called now. There's just so many of these
I
things.
fit. Yeah. So many.
Yeah. What has kind of like you learned from all of this connected fitness stuff, if any?
Yeah. Oh gosh. That I love it. I mean, I still use it like you. I still use my tonal primarily for working out. So if that's not a complete promotion of the machine that broke my heart and I still use it and love it, then, I don't know what is. So I I think with tonal, it being able to do what you need to do from your home is it's just there's nothing that to me that matches that. And oh my god, I'm forgetting what your question was.
With connected fitness, like obviously we went from being in person where you're working with people directly. Now we have connected fitness where you're getting data and all these things, and it's like syncing to your Whoop or your, smartphone and watch. Like what lessons or things have you pulled from your experience in connected fitness? Being that you're kind of like on the forefront, not only were you working at one of the biggest tech companies in connected fitness, I think it was valued at 1.6 billion at one point, but we were also there early where we were literally like shaping things with the team. We're talking to them about what does it mean when the cable gets pulled really fast or really far on a bench press randomly? What if it goes really slow? What if it stops? How do we assess movement patterns and maybe technique cues from a cable going fast or slow or like changing? Like what lessons have you pulled away from all of this?
Yeah, I can think of two. One probably being something that is less expected, but I didn't realize because before that we were both training on our own, right? We were private personal trainers. I learned so much about working with a team, and I learned how much I loved that. And I miss it still a lot. So that's one lesson that I learned, was just I love working on a team. And also I could understand tech more and how people get so excited about where they work, because at that time with Tonal, everyone who worked there, I can't speak for everyone, but it felt like everyone who worked there in those early stages was so excited because it was revolutionary, brand new. And we just were really happy to be there. So that was one lesson. The second lesson, more associated with like actual Tonal, is that you it's okay that it's not conventional, because we work in an industry that lifts iron. And I was this person. I remember hearing about Tonal being like, I'm sorry, I lift barbells and dumbbells. Like, what is this cable machine? Like, no, you can't do that much with a cable machine. And I learned very quickly, also watching other clients, like, oh, you can do a lot with this. You don't have to have a barbell. You don't have to have a squat rack. You can still get really fit and move really well and change your life with something like Tonal. And you shouldn't judge it by its cover, especially if you're a fitness person.
Okay. All right, last question, and it's like a two-parter. So obviously the name of the podcast is called Taking Action, My Business Action, Jackson Fitness. So it's going to be action related. So first part is, what does action mean to you? And the second part, which I'll cue you on if you forget, which is like, if there's somebody out there who's stuck, they're struggling, and they want to get started in this whole health and fitness game, or maybe they're kind of getting started, but they're on and off, and they want to make this a real lifestyle change, what advice would you give them to get started?
Okay. So taking action for me is simply listening to your body and following what your body is telling you that it needs. Our body is so smart. Everything about our body, the brain and how it works with our heart and the rest of our body is literally, there's so much of it that's still unknown, and we don't listen enough. We think we think we're so much smarter and that we know what our body needs, and we don't actually take the time to listen. So for me, taking action every single day starts with me getting up in the morning. Where am I sore? Like the physical cueing, right? Where am I sore? How does my neck feel? Like how am I feeling today? How did I sleep? How am I yawning? Do I look tired? Do I feel tired? That is how I decide in what way I'm going to take action. It starts first by just listening. And sometimes my body says, girl, it's a rest day. You can walk on the treadmill for a half hour if you want, but you probably shouldn't be under load. Like you're sore or you feel tension somewhere that's not normal, do a mobility class. So listen to your body. Like truly in that, and I can actually share what that looks like. It would, for me, it's like I'll sit at the end of my bed when I wake up in the morning, and my window's right there, and I'll just kind of let the sun hit me, and I'll close my eyes, because I wake up when the sun is up, not like you, who wakes up at the crack of dawn before the sun comes up.
Well, I have a baby now, so I don't really have a choice.
True. And sitting and just literally feeling my body, helping me decide like what is it that I have a plan and I almost always follow it. It's rare that I don't get my workouts in, but I still listen to like, okay, do I just need to be cautious today? Do I need, or am I like ready to go? So that's how I take action, just listening to the body. And then your second question was,
Somebody's out there, they're wanting to get started, or maybe they're kind of getting started, but it's kind of a half-assed effort and they're kind of on off. What advice do you give them to kind of really make this a lifestyle change and take action, but do it more consistently?
like I said before, be honest with yourself. I just can't harp on this enough that you can't possibly compare yourself to someone that you see online that does things 6 times a week, that probably does it partially for a living, to be honest. Like a lot of people that have been working out for a long time have changed their life to be able to fit that in. Like you and I, as an example, sure, you and I could lift and work out every single day, but our lives are shaped to fit that in a lot of ways. A little different now that you got a kid, but but that we've done that, right? So being realistic, really trying to find what you can manage, and then, and I don't have a magic wand, I don't have like a magic answer. Committing to yourself and not shying away from that. Like if you've told yourself you're going to do something, you need to show up and do it. You need to be accountable, just like you are for your family, for your job. It's the same exact thing. I think the hardest part about showing up and being accountable is that you have to do it for yourself. And it's really easy to let yourself down. It's not as easy to let other people down because you have to hear their disappointment. A lot easier to let yourself down because there's no one to be disappointed in you other than yourself. So for me, it's less about having this big motivation and it's more about I told myself I would do this and I'm going to do it because I told myself I would and I'm not going to lie to myself.
I love that. Fantastic. And I think in our industry and obviously the way we've constructed our lives, there's a different level of priority when it comes to fitness. I was on a call with one of my business coaches the other day. I always have a business coach. And this is true across the board, no matter what level I've been at, when I've seen other people that have business coaches that are like in fitness. And I was kind of like, we had a baby, he's 4 months old. I'm kind of struggling, trying to get back in my routine. My workouts haven't been great. My, sleep hasn't been great. Work has been maybe not as good as I would like it to be. And the first thing he said to me was, make sure you're still getting at least 2 or 3 workouts in a week. The first thing he said to me was, you need to take care of your mental health and like your physical body. He's like, so do that. Then let's start stacking in these other things. And that's just different in our industry than it is in other industries. So when you're comparing yourself to me or you or this online person that you follow on TikTok or whatever, it's like their whole life is probably constructed around this. I had one of my clients, I think his name is like Paul Salandino or something. He's an online influencer, has 1 million Instagram followers. And one of my clients is like, I want to look like him. And hey, that's great. I love the inspiration, but you're also a dentist with like multiple kids. He's been a college athlete who became a fitness trainer, who's married to a fitness trainer, who their whole life and income and everything they do centers around him being super fit and then posting content about it. Like that is a different level of commitment completely. Like imagine if he said, hey, I want to become a dentist and I want to do it in the next 6 months. You'd be like, what? I went to school for this. I've been doing this all my life. Like,
Such a good example. It's a good example. It's funny when you pull it out of fitness. I think a lot of what we do has so much to do with our physicality and our body, which is so much of who we are, that it's easy to set unrealistic expectations on ourselves. But when you use that example, I love that example of like, but if I were to try being a dentist in 6 months, that's laughable, right? And of course, no one would think or expect me to be a dentist in 6 months, but people expect themselves to be where, Joe Schmo is, that's taken the last decade to get there, right? And has learned and has taken many years. I had no glutes for like 6 years. And then I learned how to work them and it's taken time. Like it's all built off of one another. It's important to that just comes back to like, be realistic about what you can manage and what kind of goals you can get to with that.
Yeah. Have an open mind that you can certainly achieve maybe more than you think, but also at the same time, set some realistic expectations based on whether it's working with a professional or, finding out what those kind of things are. So if you want to lose weight, okay, let me find out what is an expected or a good or a healthy amount of weight to lose. It ain't 5 pounds, a day. It's maybe a half a pound to a pound a week at most. Okay, great. Now I have some expectations to start from and I can go from there.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't know if you feel this way too, but when clients when clients come to you and they have an expectation and they want to meet a goal, I always want to be realistic with them, and make sure that it's a goal that we can achieve. But also, I think clients, by the time they start training, they start to figure out that they have so many more goals than just that. Like, they really want to get out of pain, or they're excited about the back squat and they want to get the back squat stronger, or the front squat, or their deadlift. Like, they start to really understand and be grateful for movement as a whole. And that is really great for us as coaches, that we can concentrate on those things too. So just a reminder that yes, you can come into this with a body composition goal, but I guarantee if you have the right coaching, you're going to come out of it having appreciated and learned so much more about movement than just that. And hopefully that's just a byproduct of everything else.
Well, as we wrap up, I just wanted to thank you for obviously coming on here, being my first guest, for sharing all of your knowledge, for being such an incredible friend, for being an incredible advocate for health, for fitness, for movement, for everything that you've done over your entire career, which has been filled with highs and lows and difficulties and challenges and all the rest. And you're still here. You're still getting after it. You're still doing your thing. And you're still inspiring people. And you're still an absolute inspiration to me. So thank you for being so amazing, for being incredible, for being so focused on your clients and education and good quality movement and all the things that you do, but also at the same time being an insane badass who can get after it and push and do all those other cool things too. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I really feel the exact same. I think everyone who's listening should definitely know that with Jackson and I, it's this very mutual, like, we push each other, we ask each other questions. I'm always reaching out to Jackson, especially when it comes to business, the business side of things. He's really helped me. And he's come to me before about asking about movement stuff. So the respect and the love and the care is definitely very mutual. And I feel so supported and loved by you. And I'm just so grateful that I got to be the first guest. This is such an honor.
So where can people find you? Where can they, if they want to work with you, coach with you, follow you, give us the info.
Nicolette A Wellness is my website. And then Nicolette.Amarillas on Instagram, as well as TikTok. I'm not on there as much. Instagram is usually where I hang out. So on my website, you can just see how to book consultation with me or an evaluation, and we can go from there.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you. And, you heard the lady. Take action. It's the difference. See you in the next one.